If you're aggravated with the callus on the ball of your foot, feeling like there's a rock stuck there, well, stay with me in this episode. I'm going to share with you what has helped my patients and what can possibly help you too. Hey everybody, it's Dr. Gaffney, saving you time and money in your foot health decisions. So a callus on the ball of the foot is related to the bones not being lined up properly at the ball of your foot. So it's either the metatarsal is dropped or too long, or you have a hammer toe pushing down on the metatarsal causing the callus. And the callus is the skin's response to pressure. And it's actually protective. It prevents you from developing a wound or a blister. And if you want to learn more about the causes of pain at the ball of the foot and how the different deformities cause a callus, please check out my episode on metatarsalgia or ball of the foot pain. So there is a sad truth with calluses at the ball of the foot that I'm going to explain here in a little bit, but there are many ways to help your foot and to make yourself comfortable so you don't have that pain from the callus and feeling like there's a rock in there. And I'm explaining to you how I help my patients and what can possibly help you. So when a patient comes into the office with a callus in the ball of the foot, typically a podiatrist will shave down the callus so that it shaves off all those dead skin layers. And the patient usually feels really good for a couple of weeks, but because that bony deformity is there, as you walk, it reforms and you get that callus back again. So the sad truth is that to totally resolve the callus where it never comes back, you have to fix that bony deformity. So that usually involves a consult with your podiatrist to figure out what would be the best surgical procedure to fix your particular deformity. And most calluses at the ball of the foot are caused by the bony deformity. So unlike what you hear online, there is no way to permanently get rid of your calluses unless you address that bony deformity. But there are many ways that you can be comfortable and lessen the buildup of the callus so it doesn't feel like there's a rock stuck in the ball of your foot. So I'm going to share those different techniques with you today and what I do with my patients. One of the ways that you can limit the callus buildup is if once a week you soak a gauze pad, you stick it on that callus, let it sit there about 15 minutes, it'll get it nice and soft, and then you can get an emery board and just sand it down. You don't want to get overzealous or otherwise stimulate more callus to form, and you don't want to do it more than once a week or otherwise you stimulate those little skin cells to make more callus because you're causing friction in that area. The other thing I have my patients do is I have them get 20% to 40% urea, and you can get that online. I'll have the link in the description. And what that does is it keeps the callus soft, it keeps it from building up so much. And the last part of this whole thing is very important to offload it and make you comfortable, and that's getting an orthotic to offload that ball of the foot. So what the orthotic does is it kind of shifts the weight bearing to the arch and takes it off the ball of the foot, so it makes you feel a lot better. And the best type of orthotic to get for this is a custom molded orthotic, so it's made just for your foot so it's not hitting you in the wrong spot, and that is usually the reason why most people can't tolerate an orthotic, because it's hitting them in the wrong spot, and that's why many people do well with a custom orthotic. So the other part is that it's very expensive. It runs around $500 to get yourself a custom molded orthotic, and insurance doesn't cover it. So the other option I have patients do is to get an over-the-counter orthotic that you can mold yourself and kind of turn it into a custom orthotic. One of my favorite over-the-counter orthotics is a Spanko orthotic. And the reason why I like it is because you can heat mold it yourself at home. And I do have a YouTube episode that explains how to do that, so check that out. So you can turn it into a custom molded device for yourself. Now, the Spanko orthotic, to have it do the offloading that you want to get the orthotic type, you don't want to get a soft type. So this is relative, I mean, it gives a little bit, but it's rigid. And for ball of the foot pain, you want to get like either a 3/4 or a full length top cover. Most of the orthotic shells will end right at the ball of your foot. This will give you enough cushion underneath the ball of your foot to attach pads. I'm going to show you how to attach a pad to offload the callus, and that would make you feel very comfortable. It makes my patients feel real comfortable once you get an orthotic and get an offloading pad on it. And the reason you want to get a 3/4 length is that if you have a callus of the ball of your foot that is associated with hammer toes, if you get a full length top cover, it's going to take up room in your shoes, and then you'll get pain at the knuckles. And also the padding will take up room in the shoes, and it'll push the knuckles of a hammer toe into the toe box and might cause some discomfort. So once this is molded to your foot, the next thing I have patients do is get, or I put these on for the patients, but you can get these yourself. I have them in my online store that you can use to offload your callus, and you put these, you just take them off of there, and then you put it on the undersurface of the orthotic here, right in the area where your callus is. And I'm going to show you in a sec how to exactly put the pad where you need it, so there's no guessing. You don't have to constantly take the pad on and off to be comfortable. Most of the time I have patients put it on the undersurface here, and that way when it's on the undersurface here, it won't be on top when you're putting on your shoe and sliding up and then catching on your sock and coming off. So here are the heads of the metatarsals, and where the callus usually sits underneath, it usually sits underneath a drop metatarsal or a metatarsal that's longer, or a hammer toe that's worse pushing on the metatarsal head. So we're gonna just make our callus right here where the X is underneath the third metatarsal head, and I'm gonna show you how to properly place your pad to offload that. So what you want to do to mark your callus is just mark it with some lipstick here. And then the next thing you want to do is just line your foot up in your orthotic and then carefully step down. And then your mark will transfer there. So with your mark in place there, all you need to do is get these adhesive U pads that you can find on my store. And then you just peel them off there so you get the mark. And like I said before, usually I put these on the bottom so they don't roll up in this with the socks. And then you just put it around there like so, and it'll offload your callus. The thing you can do, you can put one on top like that to give yourself a little more thickness through there, but then you have to be careful when you put on your shoe that it doesn't roll up. Or you can just put it on the bottom for extra thickness. And then if this edge is too much, you can also just bevel the edge with the scissor. So if you have a callus here near the big toe at the ball here, what you can do is you can use the same adhesive U-pad and then just cut off one of the arms. So you just cut off one of the arms like that, and then just peel it off and put it right there to offload that. You can also reverse this if you have a callus on this near the baby toe too. You can reverse this. Now if you have calluses or diffuse pain here, you can use the metatarsal pad, and usually for these metatarsal pads I just stick them right on the edge of the shell of the spanko like that, or you can put it on the top, but then it might get rolled up on. You can also bevel this edge so it's less prominent as well. You can also use the metatarsal pad like a dancer's pad, like I just showed you with the U-pad, by just cutting out the edge like that. And then you can put it on the undersurface like that, and it'll offload this part of your foot. Now these little pads will last probably about a month or two. If you start noticing twinges of increased pain, that's the time you want to change out your pad. And you can double up on these. They might feel a little bit bulky. They do compress down in time, and you want to get the 3/4 length so it doesn't take up room in your toe box and irritate your toes if you happen to have hammer toes. As with any treatment, you need to check with your doctor first before you institute anything different. One thing I do not recommend is the callus remover or the salicylic acid or the medicated callus pads, mainly because the salicylic acid can be over aggressive and it takes off too much skin, and then the next thing you know is that you have a painful sore on the bottom of the foot that can lead to infection. Most of the time these medicated callus pads, people with healthy feet do okay with them, but they still can take off too much skin and cause soreness. I've seen a lot of that. And if you're diabetic, poor circulation, or have neuropathy, you never want to use medicated callus pads because that can lead to a bad non-healing ulcer or worse, infection that can lead to amputation. And also check out my episode on ball of the foot pain or metatarsalgia if you want to learn more. And thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. I appreciate that very much, and we'll see you next time.
Please see the full disclaimer in the description. This is not a doctor-patient relationship. This does not constitute medical advice, but is for informational purposes only.